Representative Ann Johnson.
Good evening, Texas Democrats. I am State Representative Ann Johnson, and you may remember me as Vice Chair of your Board of Managers in the Ken Paxton impeachment. I was raised a Texan. Generations of my family serving overseas, willing to make the ultimate sacrifice to protect our democracy. My parents teaching me that defending our Constitution happens here at home, too, with the honor of public service. When we serve, we take an oath, raising our hand to faithfully execute the duties, to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution, so help me God. It is on all of us to remind all Texans that it is actually Democrats defending your freedoms and your rights. While Republicans are not just taking away your constitutional reproductive freedoms and voting rights, they are taking away our freedom to a government that works for us, replacing for the people, by the people, with government to the highest bidder. I'm talking about Republican corruption in government, and it's pretty damn pervasive. So let me narrow this down to one story: the impeachment of Ken Paxton. He did it, plain and simple. Guilty as charged. Ken Paxton is Texas' top cop, and we proved that he is on the take. But Republican senators gave him a political get-out-of-jail-free card in service to their selling their souls to Trump, Abbott, Patrick, and now Paxton. In doing so, they betrayed their oath, and they failed to live up to the promise of true Texas heroes like Sam Houston, who said, "Do right and risk the consequences." I want to share with you the moment I knew that this impeachment would be the most important thing I could do in my life and the most important thing that I could do for our state and nation's future. Chair Murr and I sat in a room filled with Texas history, knowing that generations had come before us, and it was our job to preserve it for those who will come. Across the table sat a group of non-political public integrity prosecutors. We explained to them today's climate. We explained to them that if we go out there and expose the truth of Ken Paxton, we will face an unrelenting machine of retribution, personal attacks, and political destruction funded by people with an absurd amount of money and no moral compass or ethics. If you were us, would you go forward? Quickly and unanimously, they answered, "How could you not?" We stood on the House floor and we delivered articles of impeachment to our colleagues, and I am proud to tell you that 121 House members, a bipartisan supermajority, voted their conscience, voted their oath, and voted to impeachment. Because you see, impeachment is not a sword. Impeachment is a shield to protect the integrity of public trust against public corruption. But unfortunately, our impeachment trial proved to be a political process and not a judicial one. Republican senators were not required to follow the evidence, and with a few notable exceptions, they didn't. They followed Dan Patrick, who served as judge of the proceedings. Patrick, as judge, took $3 million from Paxton's biggest backers on the eve of trial. Patrick, as judge, defied Texas law and refused to allow prosecutors to question Paxton under oath. And Patrick, as judge, within minutes of the verdict, confessed his own bias, proving that the fix was in from the start, and began their political vengeance tour. Like many of you, I'm a cancer survivor. You recall, or the moment someone you know and loved was diagnosed, you recall the moment that you had to choose to fight like hell. And today, our politics has its own cancer: Republican corruption. And if left untreated, it will become terminal. So if Trump wins, Paxton will be your next U.S. Attorney General. If Trump wins, the Supreme Court will be filled with the likes of Patrick and Abbott's, and if Trump wins, our constitutional protections will die. And so we all right now need to choose to summon the same will to survive, to fight like hell, and to preserve, protect, and defend our Constitution and our democracy. It may not sound like it, but I am here with good news. I mean it. There is a cure to this cancer. There is a cure to this Republican corruption, and it is you. The cure is to vote. The cure is to knock on doors. And the cure is to make sure that every Texan, every American knows that we must elect Democrats up and down the ballot November 5th. And so let's get to this fight. Let's get to the cure. Thank you.